कुंज बिहारी जय राधा
कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा
कुंज बिहारी
जय गोपी जन बाबा गिरधारी जय गोपी जन राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Jai Jai Radha Madhava Hare Radha Madhava Hare Radhe Jai Jai Radha Jai Jai Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 श्री राधा माधव हरि की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय गौतमानंद हरि बोल ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये Reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4. Which verse we are in? We are in let's read text number 30. Start from text number 30 and we'll go on to some verses.
Okay.
Sarvepete egyavido
Sarveshite yayagiro
egyatha pitakalmasa
Namaskar Namaskar
yajasista metabujo
Namaskar Namaskar
yanti brahma sanatanam.
Yanti Pravasana
All these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions, and having tasted the nectar of the result of and then eventually he explains that these various sacrifices, all these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice, those who understand the actual meaning of sacrifice, they become cleansed of all sinful reactions. And having tasted the nectar of the result of sacrifice, they advance toward the supreme eternal atmosphere. So when they taste the result of sacrifice, then they have no more desire on the material platform. They advance toward the supreme eternal atmosphere. Supreme eternal atmosphere is the abode of the Lord. That's the supreme eternal atmosphere. So, or the Brahma Jyoti. Many believe they will achieve Brahma Jyoti, and then others understand that there is a supreme place of the Lord. So they advance toward the supreme eternal atmosphere, the abode of the supreme Lord. Purport. From the foregoing explanation of different types of sacrifice, namely sacrifice of one's possessions, study of the Vedas or philosophical doctrines, and performance of the yoga system. So these three type of sacrifices, namely possession sacrifice, drabya yajna, and knowledge yajna, study of the Vedas or philosophical doctrines, and performance of the yoga system, doing various yoga system like breathing, hatha yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, these various yoga systems. It is found that the common aim of all is to control the senses. So all these various sacrifices and various yoga systems culminate in controlling the senses and mind. How to control our mind, how to control our senses. This is the result of sacrifices. It is found that the common aim of all is to control the senses. Sense gratification is the root cause of material existence. So why we stay in this material world? Because we want to enjoy. So sense gratification. Senses, eyes, nose, ears, tongue, belly, gentle. These various senses have desires, and then trying to fulfill this desire of the senses, we continue to rotate in the material existence. But when one stops the desire of the senses and it takes pleasure within, towards the supreme eternal atmosphere. Therefore, unless and until one is situated on a platform apart from sense gratification, there is no chance of being elevated to the eternal platform of full knowledge, full bliss, and full life. So, full of knowledge, full of bliss, full of life is the eternal atmosphere of Lord Krishna, the abode of Lord Sri Krishna. That is the eternal atmosphere where life is full of bliss, full of life, and full of eternity, and full of knowledge. To get there, one has to be fully sense control, and he focuses on the supreme, he focuses within, he doesn't focus outside. All others who focus outside try to fulfill the senses, cycle of birth and death. This platform is in the eternal atmosphere or Brahman atmosphere. So this platform is eternal atmosphere, means it's the abode of the Lord. It's the abode of the Supreme Lord where this atmosphere exists, or the Brahman. Brahman, another word Brahman means Supreme Lord. All the above mentioned sacrifice help one to become cleansed of the sinful reactions of material existence. So these sacrifices mentioned here, they all help one to become cleansed of the sinful reactions of material existence. Various sinful reactions that comes on the way as we perform various sacrifices, many sinful reactions also appear. So these sinful reactions are cleansed when we perform these various sacrifices. By this advancement in life, not only does one become happy and opulent in this life, but also at the end he enters into the eternal kingdom of God, either merging into the impersonal Brahman or associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. So two paths. So these sacrifices help us become cleansed of sinful reactions of material existence. We have been in the material existence for from time immemorial. We don't know how long we are in the material existence. It has been time immemorial. But by this sort of activities, uh, we become cleansed of sinful reactions and we advance toward the spiritual atmosphere. Also at the end, whether we are Brahman, realized person or the eternal kingdom of God, will be given one chance. Whether we want to become personal associate of the Lord or we want to merge into the Brahman effulgence, the choice is up to the person, but it will be given at the end of the life. Text number 31. Nayam lokosya yagyasya kutonya purushottama. O best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next? So, without any performance of sacrifice, there is no life. One cannot be happy in this world. One can never live happily on this planet. Even in this lifetime, we cannot live happily. Then what to talk about the next? For the next life, one must perform nice sacrifices and austerities. Otherwise, life will be miserable. So put, whatever form of material existence one is in, one is invariably ignorant of his real situation. In other words, existence in the material world is due to the multiple reactions to our sinful life. We are here because we haven't performed much great deal of sacrifice and great deal of devotional service. Why we are here? We would not be here if we have done a lot of devotional service in our previous life. We have done some, but not much. Otherwise, we would not be here. So life has started because of our pious or impious activities of our previous lives. But at least we are in Krishna consciousness. So Krishna consciousness comes because of something great we have performed in our previous life. Something great has happened, the way of meditation in our previous and this lifetime. That's why we are in Krishna consciousness. Now, if we are careful and take care of this life in Krishna consciousness, then we will not come back again in this material world, but we will promote it to the eternal atmosphere, which is the abode of the Lord. Ignorance is the cause of sinful life, and sinful life is the cause of one dragging on in material existence. Ignorance. If a person is in knowledge, he will not do something that is away from Krishna. But If a person does not know that actual knowledge to serve the Supreme Lord Krishna, then he doesn't do anything else but try to please the Lord with everything he has. But if he is ignorant, then he will do whatever mind and senses tells him to do. Mind and senses are always looking for pleasure and try to fulfill these desires of mind and senses. Person hankers from one place to another, one one from one place to another. This way he continually hankers, but the mind and senses are never fulfilled unless they are placed in the service of the Lord. The human form of life is the only loophole by which one may get out of this entanglement. So where is the crossing point? Crossing point is the human form of life. Otherwise, 8,400,000 different species of life we have to rotate. But when one becomes a human, that is the chance. That is a road that leads directly to the Supreme Person. But if we somehow lose it, then again cycle of material existence continues. But if we somehow in human form take Krishna consciousness seriously, then then the life's goal is achieved. We don't have to hang out here anymore, thinking how I'm going to maintain myself next, who are my enemies, who are my friends, all these various different kind of thoughts that comes as long as we are here in the in the material world. So this hankering and after existence, hankering trying to exist in this world will be ceased if we take up Krishna consciousness seriously in this lifetime. But if not, then again same thing repeats life after life. The human form of life is the only loophole by which one may get out of this entanglement. The Vedas therefore give us a chance to escape by pointing out the paths of religion, economic comfort, regulated sense gratification, and at last the means to get out of the miserable condition entirely. Vedas. Vedas give us various sacrifices. Do this sacrifice and you achieve money. Do this sacrifice, you achieve beautiful woman. Do this sacrifice and you acquire many nice friends. Do this sacrifice and you have opulence. Sacrifices are mentioned in the Vedas. And what are they? What they result? They result if you do them, then paths of religion, economic comfort. They give us economic comfort and regulated sense gratification, not unregulated but regulated sense gratification. You can have a married life, but you don't do any nonsense outside of married life. Same way you earn your living by honest work and then gratify your senses. And at last the means to get out of material condition entirely. That is the liberation. So ultimately Vedas teach us finally to understand the Supreme and get out of the material world. The path of religion or the different kind of sacrifice recommended above automatically solves our economic problems. So these various sacrifices mentioned above, if we perform them, solve our daily needs. Different kind of sacrifices recommended above automatically solves our economic problems. The Lord says, Annat bhavanti bhutani parjanya dana sambhava, yajna bhavati parjanyo, yajna karma samudbhava. Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi, brahmakshara samudbhavam, tasmat sarvagatam brahma, nityam yajna pratishtitam. The food grains are produced by rain, rains are produced of sacrifices, and sacrifices that comes from the Vedas. So ultimately, everything is in the act of sacrifice. This is how the Lord mentions in Bhagavad Gita. So if we do that, then our economic problems are solved. By performance of yajna, we can have enough food, enough milk, etc. Even if there is a so-called increase of population. of population. There is no increase of population unless sanctioned by the Supreme Lord. Many people say, there is too much population, we should have family planning, things like that. But God has plans for everyone. There is no need that we control the population. God knows how much population is needed at what particular time. So therefore, these family planning and things are not so much effective because nothing happens without sanctioned by the supreme will of the Lord. So if we perform these various yajnas mentioned there, we will have enough food, enough milk, etc., even if there is no so-called increase of population. When the body is fully supplied, naturally the next stage is to satisfy the senses. So when the body fully gets satisfied, then next stage is we want to satisfy our senses. I know your strong belly. The Vedas prescribe, therefore, sacred marriage for regulated sense gratification. So here the mention is marriage, that you do a sacred marriage for regulated sense gratification. Thereby, one is gradually elevated to the platform of release from material bondage and the highest perfection of liberated life is to associate with the Supreme Lord. If you do a regulated marriage, sacred marriage life, then next stage is mind goes on to thinking of the Supreme Lord. But if we deviate from sacred marriage life, then we will fall into material existence because then we will be having many marriages and this way we spoil our time, which is meant for thinking of the Supreme Lord and advancing the spiritual life. If we marry more than one or don't have a separate marriage life, then we'll live like dog and cat. No marriage system. This way, valuable time is wasted on unworthy sense gratification. Perfection is achieved by performance of yajna, sacrifice, as described above. Without sacrifice, there is no performance of yajna. Sacrifice is needed everywhere. Now, if a person is not inclined to perform yajna according to the Vedas, how can he expect a happy life even in this body? And what to speak of another body on another planet? So, if the person is not inclined toward the sacrifice mentioned in the Vedas, then he will have no happy life in this body and in this lifetime, and forget about the next life and next plane, next planet. He will never have that chance. There are different grades of material comfort in different heavenly planets, and in all cases there is immense happiness for persons engaged in different kinds of yajna. These demigods living in the heavenly planets, they have performed a great deal of sacrifice in their previous lives. That's why they are there in the heaven. By performing of Aswamedha Yajna, 100 Aswamedha Yajna, one becomes Indra, you know, the king of heaven. If you perform 100 Aswamedha Yajna, then you achieve the post of King Indra. Same way, according to how many sacrifices you perform, then you achieve various positions in heaven. But these are also material positions, and they are temporary. Now you are Indra, but next time creation happens, you are no more Indra. Somebody else takes your position. That's why Indra is always afraid of his position. If someone does some sacrifice and penances in this world, then Indra is afraid he might achieve my position. So various devas are there, they have their positions, they have performed many different sacrifices, that's why they are in the heavenly region. Because there is immense sense pleasure in the heavenly planet, because your body never gets old. Over here, body gets old and invalid, so you cannot enjoy senses anymore. when you get over 40, 45, 50, then you cannot enjoy your senses even though you have desire in your heart to enjoy it. But the body does not allow you. So now you have to change your body and get a new body to enjoy your senses. But even if you get another body, then how long can you enjoy? Very little time. That's why actual enjoyment is in the heavenly planet. If we want to enjoy our senses, the actual enjoyment of the body is in the heavenly planet. That's why Vedas recommend that you perform yajnas and you go to heaven. And there you can enjoy your desire, heart desire, senses. So that's why Vedas mention. Vedas don't clearly say don't do a sacrifice to go to heaven. They say do sacrifices so you will be promoted to the heavenly region. Let us become Indra, Chandra, or Varun, or somebody else who lives in the heaven. May we go there to live with them. These sort of things are mentioned in Vedas. So these are because human body also have desires. Human body wants to, the senses and the body want to enjoy, and this enjoyment is not properly executed in the earth planet. Enjoyment is in the heavenly region. You live thousands of years, and your body is always young. Body smells like a lotus flower, so then they enjoy as much as they want. But then there is a fear of death also even with them. After some time, after a long period of time passes, then their garland, which never fades, garland becomes dry, and within the 3 days they die. And then they take birth right here in the Earth planet again in some pious families. So those who desire heavenly sense pleasure get repeated birth and death only. But to get that, you have to perform a lot of sacrifices. Without sacrifice, you cannot go to heaven. Many people say, you know, we will get to go heaven. Heaven is safe for us. We are safe to go to heaven, they say. But heaven is not that easy. Heaven is the gate of heaven is open for us, they say. No, it is not open for them also. Heaven is earned by great deal of sacrifice, penances, and lot of sacrifice like this Vedas mention sacrifice. One has to perform many sacrifices. 100 sacrifices you could perform, you are achieved Indra's post. His Indra's post is very high. It rules the three planetary system. That's why there is always compete with Indra. Compete with Indra, perform 100 word sacrifices, and next time creation going to take place, Bali is going to take over Indra's post. Now Indra is ruling, Indra will be Bali Maharaj. So present Indra cannot stay there. His time is over now. He has to come down and become a human being and again do more sacrifices to go to heaven. Because Bali always perform 100 sacrifices, so he will to go. But the highest kind of happiness that a man can achieve is to be promoted to the spiritual planet by practice of Krishna consciousness. These are all temporary posts. Sometimes you enjoy your senses, but then senses are such that always want more, so it's never enough. Yes, of sacrifice is to promote ourselves to the Krishna's eternal abode, which is no practice of response. A life of knowledge, therefore, is solution to all this. So what is the solution of life? Against performance is not the solution. Against performance promotes to heaven, or against performance brings happiness, is to enjoy more senses. So what is the actual solution? The solution is surrendering full pledge to the service of Krishna. And just like this morning we were reading, Offering the result of sacrifice for the pleasure of the Supreme is the solution of life. If we offer the result of sacrifice for the pleasure of the Supreme, then there is a chance of escape from material existence. But rare person is able to do that because everybody has senses and senses always drag us towards the gratification. We cannot stop. Just like in the morning after the breakfast, we want to eat some nice sweet rice. Our tongue wants it. And if we say no, let's not eat that, we just eat the dry chapati, then our body does not want it. Because to fulfill the belly, we can eat dry chapatis, it will fulfill the belly, but our tongue says no, sweet rice, and we will take sweet rice. So that's a sense gratification. And then we want to enjoy it. It says that real brahmanas, whenever they see something enjoyable, they never enjoy it. Real brahmana gives up the immediate benefit and immediate wanting. Something pleasurable you see, if you go for it, then there is a trouble coming ahead. That's why real brahmanas in previous time, anything enjoyable they see, they don't take it. They abstain from it. They would rather take something that is uninteresting. So the real brahmanas live a austere life like that. But we are not like that. We want to enjoy. Although this example is not proper here because we are living in Krishna consciousness. Everything is offered to Krishna and prasada is offered to Krishna, so we can take prasada and do some devotional service. But just to give example, a real brahmana, one who wants to actually achieve the Lord's abode, should abstain from anything that gives kind of pleasure, immediate pleasure. You know, immediate pleasure is no good for the mind. Things that are not pleasurable, if we stick to such things and offer everything that looks like an enjoyment of senses for the pleasure of the Supreme, we don't enjoy it, then that's a real Brahmana austerity. But not that everybody can do it. It's hard. But slowly, slowly we have to practice it. Bhagavad Prasad offered to the Lord, we can take it. But it has to be limited, not too much. If we enjoy too much, then the stomach will not take it. But just little bit we can take it, just to have to honor the Lord. Lord tasted it in the morning, so He provides us so we can take it. But it explains that these Brahmanas, the previous time, the real Brahmanas, like Sudama Brahman, Sudama Brahmana was very poor. He never enjoyed anything that was pleasurable like that. And when Sudama went to meet Lord Krishna, what happened? The Lord came running to grab him. You know, there were thousands, millions of Brahmanas were there. It explains when Lord Krishna was present in Dwaraka, nations were dominated by Brahmanas, all over the earth planet. And these Brahmanas, they used to come and meet the Lord in Dwaraka. But Lord would never meet with any Brahmanas. Why he never meet with any Brahmanas? Because they were not pure. They enjoy senses. Whereas these thousands, millions of Brahmanas, they came to see Lord in Dwaraka, but Lord never appeared before them. He never cared for them. Why? Because these Brahmanas were not austere. Whereas Sudama Brahman, he was poor, he had no particular income. Whatever God provided, he depended on that. And then he lived a very austere life. It explains when he went to Dwaraka, his bones were visible everywhere in his body. Because he doesn't take care of his body properly. He just wants to keep his life and life air going for the service of the Lord. So that's how poor he was, because he depend on whatever is provided by the way of providence. He did not did a particular job to make his life income. So he lived a very austere life. Seeing that, Lord became very kind and he gave lot of wealth. When he came back from Dwaraka, his house turned into a palace. And then, although he never wanted, the Lord provided and he stayed there just to perform the devotional activities for the rest of the life. And then it explains how he entered the eternal abode of the Lord right at that life. So the Lord knows which Brahman is entering a spiritual planet. Lord knows exactly. So these rules and regulations are there in the scripture. Unless we control our senses, there is no austerity. You know, austerity means controlling the senses. And among all the senses, tongue is the most difficult. Controlling tongue becomes the most difficult than anything else. So that's what we are discussing how uh, a life of Krishna consciousness is therefore the solution to all problems of material existence. Consciousness. Krishna consciousness. Always thinking of Krishna in the mind and never forgetting him. That is Krishna consciousness. If we forget Krishna, then that is non-Krishna consciousness. But if we remember always Krishna, then that is Krishna consciousness. So to remember Krishna, that has to have austerity, getting up early, taking bath, and then remembering chanting prayers. Morning we come and chant the prayers. That's the austerity we perform. Other people are sleeping, devotees get up early morning and chant the holy name of the Lord. So that's a yajna, performing the yajna. And then again we do chanting japa, that's also yajna, japa yajna. In fact, japa yajna is considered highest than any other yajna. Yajnanam japa yajnasmi. Among the uh, yajnas, sacrifices, I am japa yajna, Lord says. That's why japa becomes hard. Why chanting is hard? Because it is the highest yoga. But it is hard to do. After you chant for half an hour, you don't feel like chanting anymore, and you want to go do something else. We can't sit here and chant all day long. If we were to chant all day long, we would be progressing much more. But we can't. Our mind does not allow us to do it. Then we go for do some other services, and again we can chant a little bit. So this way, japa yajna is very high. Well, if we do more and more, that's yeah, you progress in Krishna consciousness. But if we cannot do it, then we do some services. We do some services, then again chanting becomes a little interesting after the break. But if you can chant 24 hours a day, then that is the best. Because japa is the highest yoga. Then any other sacrifice, japa is the highest. But when we feel bored on chanting, then we can do some service and come back and do the japa again. But japa has to be there always. Japa is the basic of everything. Okay. Read a little more. Read a little more. So we'll read next verse, text 32. Evam bahuvida yajna vitata brahmano mukhe karma janvidditan sarva nevam jnata vimokshase. All these different type of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. So these different kind of sacrifices are all approved by the Vedas. Vedas has various sacrifices mentioned, and these are approved by the Vedas, and these various sacrifices are born of different type of work. People do many various kind of work, and according to various kind of work, various sacrifices are mentioned for different persons. Not all have same desires. Everybody has some different desires. So because of various different desires of living entities, many various sacrifices are also mentioned in the Vedas. So whichever sacrifice is suitable for you, you take that. Just like in Krishna consciousness, we do Nam Sankirtan. We don't perform so many yajnas, fire sacrifices. We rather do the Nam Sankirtan, chanting the holy name. Group chanting we do, other than do the fire sacrifice. Why we don't do the fire sacrifice every morning here? We don't do that because our nature is different. There are other people like in India and many places. Some people have fire sacrifice every morning. Other people have other like they do karma kanda. They go to people's houses and do karma kanda, various kind of rituals. So various different kind of nature living entities are there, and according to their different desires, different sacrifices are there in the Vedas. So as for Nam Sankirtan is recommended for this day and age, that's why we focus more on Nam Sankirtan, the chanting the holy name of the Lord. And that is more suitable for us Krishna consciousness plus. Fire sacrifices are there, or so many other sacrifices are there. In Vedas there are so many, just like he was mentioning. Some control mind and senses, some study Vedas, some offer the food grains, drabya yajnas, tapo yajnas, yoga yajnas, tatha pare, and samskrita brata. So these sort of various kind of yajnas are all there in the Vedas and people. All of them are born of different type of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. Simply to know this, one can become liberated. If simply person understands that there are various sacrifices for different kind of people or different kind of desires people, if one simply understands this much understanding, then he is a liberated person. If we properly know that these various kind of sacrifices are there in Vedas, and we can explain them, this yajna is for this yajna is for this, and simply know it, these various kind of yajnas exist. If you simply know it, then knowing them as such, will achieve one of the form of the Lord to associate with the Lord. Sacrifices discussed above are mentioned in the Vedas to suit the different type of workers. Because men are so deeply absorbed in the bodily concept, these sacrifices are so arranged that one can work either with the body, with the mind, or with the intelligence. So here it explains how not that all people can work with mind, others can work with intelligence, some people can only work with body. So that's why these various sacrifices are there. Intelligence, then yes, Nam Sankirtan is there. With intelligence, then you have to work with your mind, and whatever mind says, mind has Rajagun, Tamagun, Satagun, three different type of modes. So when you are in mode of passion, you cannot perform the sacrifice of mode of goodness. You have to perform the sacrifice of mode of passion, the mode of ignorance. So to deal with these three modes, Vedas have mentioned various kind of sacrifices according to the mode person have acquired. Some people are very passionate, others are mode of goodness, mode of ignorance. So that's why to deal with these various kind of people, various kind of sacrifices are there. And when one performs these sacrifices, then one cleanses himself to the spiritual level more slowly coming to the goodness. And when goodness becomes even more deeper, then it becomes Krishna consciousness, a spiritual yoga. Because men are so deeply submerged in the bodily concept that these sacrifices are so arranged that one can work either with the body, with the mind, or with the intelligence. All of them are recommended for ultimately bringing about liberation from the body. Hence, they are arranged to get liberation, a freedom from birth and death, disease and old age. To get rid of this, one needs to liberate himself. And to get liberation, one has to perform a sacrifice. That's why these various kind of sacrifices are mentioned, but their goal ultimately is bringing about liberation from the body. This is confirmed by the Lord herewith from his own mouth. 633. Shreyam Drabya Maya Jnana Yajna Parantapa Sarvam Karma Kilam Partha Jnane Parisamappyate. Of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Pritha, all sacrifice of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. Right here, the clear answer is that sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. If you are full-fledged in knowledge of Krishna consciousness and you perform sacrifice, that is the best sacrifice you can do. But if you are not in full knowledge of sacrifice, then you give out your wealth for the purpose of sacrifice and this way cultivate more spiritual knowledge. And ultimately, all sacrifices of work culminate in spiritual knowledge. No matter how much you do, ultimate thing is understanding spiritual knowledge. So understanding Bhagavad Gita is the ultimate goal of life. Because Bhagavad Gita is a spiritual knowledge. And to know spiritual knowledge means you have performed all other sacrifices. Purpose. The purpose of all sacrifice is to arrive at the status of complete knowledge, then to gain release from material miseries, and ultimately to engage in loving transcendental service of the Supreme Lord, Krishna consciousness. So ultimate purpose of all the sacrifice is to become Krishna consciousness. Nonetheless, there is a mystery about all these different activities of sacrifice, and one should know this mystery. Sacrifices sometimes take different form according to the particular faith of the performer. According to the faith, sacrifice takes various forms. When one's faith reaches the stage of transcendental knowledge, the performer of sacrifice should be considered more advanced than those who simply sacrifice material possessions without such knowledge. For without attainment of knowledge, sacrifice remains on the material platform and bestows no spiritual benefit. Same thing, performing sacrifice with the knowledge in the head is different sacrifice than sacrificing the material possessions. Material possessions you give out to the people's welfare, then slowly that welfare will culminate in spiritual knowledge. But if we don't give, if we are in knowledge of the Supreme, do we need to stop the sacrifice? No, we can still perform sacrifices. It cleanses the person more. Lord explains that these things also cleanses the person more and more. So even the can perform sacrifice, but sacrifice performed with the knowledge in the mind is a better one. Remain on the platform, material platform, and best to know spiritual result. Just sacrificing material possession It remains in the material platform and bestows very little spiritual benefit. Real knowledge culminates in Krishna consciousness, the highest stage of transcendental knowledge. Right here, actual knowledge is Krishna consciousness, understanding Krishna consciousness, which is the highest stage of spiritual knowledge. Without the elevation of knowledge, without the elevation of knowledge, sacrifice are simply material activities. So if knowledge is not there in the head, then sacrifices also remain in the material platform. When, however, they are elevated to the level of transcendental knowledge, all such activities enter into the spiritual platform. Same activities, same sacrifice, if done with the knowledge in the head, then that becomes spiritual. Without the knowledge in the head, you perform the sacrifice that remains like a material activity. Such a difference. Depending on differences in consciousness, sacrificial activities are sometimes called karma kanda, fruitive activities, and sometimes jnana kanda, knowledge in the pursuit of truth. It is better when the in is knowledge. Karma kanda and jnana kanda. Karma kanda is fruitive activities, jnana kanda is spiritual knowledge. So that's why karma kanda remains in material platform while jnana kanda is spiritual knowledge culminates in spiritual activities and it is Krishna consciousness. That's why better is the jnana kanda. In our Krishna consciousness, karma kanda is not recommended so much. You can do it to make your livelihood, but it is not very recommended process. It could lead you to a wrong path. While jnana kanda, performance of sacrifices like sankirtan, yajna, nam kirtan, this, this culminates in real knowledge. It's a jnana kanda. But if we do karma kanda, just sacrifice only to possess the material wealth and opulence, and that is non-Krishna conscious activity. But for the general mass, if we are trying to attract them to Krishna consciousness, sometimes karma kanda is also useful just for the purpose of preaching work. But it is not very much recommended according to the point of knowledge. So we better stick to the jnana kanda than karma kanda. One of the aparad 10 offenses is, what was that? Karma kanda, that to consider the names of Lord as one of the ritualistic activities, karma kanda. Name of the Lord, to consider the name of the Lord as one of the karma kanda thing is an offense because it is a jnana kanda, it's completely spiritual, it is not material. So we stop here for today. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.